Have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby!
Who is up?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
In 1972, I had the worst day of my life. I got robbed. I got beat. I spit on the fucking sidewalk. The whole police department shows up. Fucking assholes. Can't leave me alone. Always hassling me. Well, you see this here bottle of Viper? Well, I once saw the toilet swallow an entire man. Anyways, the government's controlling our minds with microwave beams that radiate from Blu-rays. Purple isn't a color, it's actually a flavor. Marilyn Monroe is still alive. She just lives under the New Jersey Turnpike. Welcome to Horror Movie Night.
I have anything to do. First of all, I have to let everybody know I had to like mute my mic because I was laughing too hard.
I got nervous because there was not a sound at all, and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm blowing this."
What are you talking about? We had Christopher Lloyd come in to do that read.
I was frozen today. It's how I get into character. So we're talking about Street Trash, a movie that we said we would never ever cover. Well, Scott said we would never ever cover.
You promised we would never ever cover after we did Body Melt. That was a fucking deal.
I understand that was a deal, but do you realize how many people emailed for this movie? So many people, Scott.
By
like
so many.
two.
Don't you mean like three? Yeah.
Two
I'll tell you right now, those people are covered in jizz. I hate this movie so much. I thought I liked this movie, and then I watched it again.
Oh, thank goodness. God, because you were like hyping it up. There was going to be you and Matt versus me, like just tearing into you. Like, why did we watch this? But no, okay, it's two of us against Matt. We're back to normal.
No, I don't hate this movie, but I said it in our chat earlier today. Like, every time I go to watch this movie, I remember that I'm like, yeah, this movie's only like 75, 80 minutes long. And then like halfway through it, I'm like, oh no, that's right. This one's like 30 minutes longer than it needs to be. This movie's so long.
Yeah, this movie is super long because it has like 4 plot lines. Like it's got like way too much going on, and the only thing that holds it together is the Tenafly Viper, which is from pre-Prohibition era. Is that what I caught this time around watching this movie?
Well, he had said
I believe
it was 60 years old, and the movie takes place in the 80s.
In the late 80s, 88 or 87. 87. Well, okay, so let's just get this out of the way. This movie is like more scummy New York City imagery than Frank Henenlotter could ever hope to achieve. Like, take Frank Henenlotter's entire videography, condense it, just distill it into one film, and it's still not as dirty and gross as Street Trash.
Yeah, this movie's got a lot going on, man. Like, way too much, and it's all like, I don't know. So this is one of those movies that's like kind of perfect for, you know, this is we're about to enter October. Like, this is a good, like, hey, I'm going to throw on a movie at the Halloween party, but I'm not going to have the volume on because I don't want people distracted by it too much, because visually it's fucking bonkers. But the downside is that there's like an hour of this movie that is just homeless people fighting.
And there's also 2 very long, very in-depth rape scenes.
Yeah, and also a Vietnam flashback. And fuck.
Yeah, what the fuck? Oh, I'm sorry. There are 3 rape scenes. I forgot about the Vietnam rape
it's
scene.
fucked. This movie is disgusting. This movie, in and of itself, is an argument that Harmony Korine's Gummo is actually art. Put it next to this movie, and you're like, wow, what a beautiful, uplifting story Gummo told about Xenia, Ohio. This movie is fucking gross, man. Gross.
Yeah, like I would watch Body Melt 2 more times before I watch this again. No, I would watch Body Melt 5 more times before I watch this. Like, Body Melt is G-rated compared to Street Trash. Like, Body Melt's gross, but Street Trash is just a thing in and of itself. Like, it doesn't even fit a genre.
Rewatching this reminds me why, out of all of these types of movies, The Stuff is so far above all of the other movies in every way.
Because it's actually entertaining.
And like, the parts that are supposed to be funny are funny. The story's easy to follow, which is insane to say about The Stuff. But, like, compared to Body Melt and this, it's super easy to follow. This movie, like, I'm looking at my notes, and I've been trying to not write as many notes and just focus on, like, highlighting topics that I want to mention. And every single topic except for 2 are just ways that people die. That's the only reason to watch this movie, is for the actual death scenes.
That's what you think. Every time I remember this movie, I remember it fondly because of the death scenes, and I remembered it fondly again as I went to watch it again for this. And then Scott reminded me of the rape scenes, and then I started remembering that, no, this isn't a movie about happy-go-lucky homeless people who occasionally drink Viper and melt. This is a movie about the absolute fucking sociopathic, crazy scum of the earth, and no one in this movie is good, except maybe the cop, and he's a bit of an asshole as well. Yeah. But
no, the cop is ass. He's such a fuck.
Yeah, but he's at least on the right side of this thing. Like, we're going to solve the crimes, we're going to stop these people getting killed, blah, blah, blah. And he's about it, but everybody else, and we're introduced to who I would call sort of our main character, which would be the homeless guy in the, like, farmer's hat, with the beard, who I could do
the fedora kind of.
I could absolutely pull that look off for Halloween. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you can pull that look off tomorrow.
Yeah. When you come to Monster Mania in March, you should 100% cosplay as that guy, and it will draw so much attention at our
we got to get one of those hipster hats.
Dude, I'll just go down to the Goodwill down like a couple blocks from here, and I'm sure I can pick up 3 for you. They're all like women's hats, but because they're floppy brims. But yeah, dude, those things are hot again. Actually, what people dress like in most of the bougier parts of New York City looks exactly like this guy, except they don't have soot smeared on their face.
Yeah, he is considered. He is in a thick layer of soot.
Everybody is. Okay, so yeah, that guy's kind of not even the protagonist, because he seems like a hobo with a heart of gold until he date rapes a girl and then gets knocked out, and she gets gang raped to death by hobos, which is the darkest part of this movie. And that's really fucking saying something, because we have Vietnam flashbacks, multiple people being dissolved by 60-year-old booze, as well as other rape scenes. So, I mean, really, you know, if we're going for a hero in this movie, I think there's only one of them. And it's the guy that owns the alcohol store, like the booze shop, and he finds the Tenafly Viper and literally murders people.
He's doing society a favor by taking these awful, awful people off the streets.
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole point of the title of the movie, and it's trying to make some sort of biting social commentary about the homeless problem.
It's actually not. The screenwriter for this movie has been quoted in interviews as saying, I wrote it so that it would democratically offend literally any party that watched it. That was his goal in making this movie, was just to offend your senses no matter who you were.
To be fair, he did what he came to do. Like, I have never been so offended.
So this is another fun fact, if you checked out IMDb's trivia, that the star of this movie was also doing all of the makeup, and he created the penises in the movie. And he made 3 different sizes: a little one, which they refer to as the pecker, a medium-sized one that they refer to as the poker, and a big one that they refer to as the packer.
At least they seem like they had fun. I don't know.
Well, no, but the woman that is in that rape scene, she had actually been assaulted and raped in real life, and she like had like PTSD from having to do that scene and relive the whole scenario again.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's awful. That's so
that
awful.
Just brought down the entire mood of this episode. You could have saved that for after the discussion.
Well, sorry, but like, I mean, this movie, I thought, like, and it sets you up. The opening scene sets you up with this like slapstick thing, wherein you know, he steals a bottle and he's running down the street, and then he steals a guy's money, and he's got like 3-4 guys coming after him, and it's like ha ha, chuckle chuckle, he gets away. And one of the guys that he's running from is this like older homeless man who he stole like a couple of dollars from or whatever. And you're like, ha ha, everything's cool. Now that older homeless man then corners him, and you realize that older homeless man is an unhinged fucking psycho who almost kills him for having stole $2 from him. And you're like, holy fuck, this is what happened to the slapstick funny I was just enjoying a minute ago. Like,
yeah, like okay, so the funniest part of this movie isn't the dick getting thrown back and forth through the air. It's the fact that within the first 5 minutes, you have the main hobo action rolling into an apartment window that is the apartment of 2 people fucking while this building is burning down. That's fun. But then almost immediately he smacks the naked girl's ass, and I'm like, are you serious? Is this movie really happening right now? Because this is my first full watch of the movie. I had done what any sane person would have done, and I've only ever watched the melt scenes, like melt compilations on YouTube, and that was enough for me to understand what we were getting into, I thought. But then we have Gary, who is one of the homeless people like that the one guy walks past, I think after he almost gets murdered by the older homeless dude. Gary has no hands in real life, so they found a bunch of, like, which is super demeaning as well. They found a bunch of people with physical deformities or have like lost limbs, and they got them to be homeless people. Like, there's a guy who's got basically no torso, or he's just a torso and arms, and he like he's in a wheelchair, and he goes in to get booze because that's what, you know, a double amputee, thank you, what needs is, you know, a bottle of booze. And then he falls on the floor, and the guy's like, get the fuck out of my store. And there are other homeless people that have obvious physical problems. Like, I don't think that most of these people were paid to be in this movie. I think that they really legitimately were homeless people.
I wouldn't be shocked. It may sound like Scott is talking about the movie Freaks from 1932, but no, he is talking about Street Trash from 1987.
God, I really wish I'd been watching Freaks instead.
Can we highlight probably the opening, the first death, which is probably the most iconic and best scene in the movie, I think, the toilet death?
We already talked about it.
I want to say that I really like the weird puppet face goop that like is inside the bowl at the very end.
So here's my problem with that scene. The creator of this film didn't know how the circulatory system works, because why would his why would he fall apart like that? If it hits his stomach, it wouldn't go back up into his heart and then to his jugular. He would basically just rot through the stomach. Like, everybody would just rot through the stomach.
It would just burn a hole where, like, gravity, like, it would just drop right through you. It would fall out your asshole, right? Like, that's as much as what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it would fucking suck, but I mean, it wouldn't be quite so graphic. And I suppose that's the whole point of this, is that, like, it's, you know, it's an entertaining watch for the body melts, just because they're so gruesome, but also very tongue-in-cheek, and very colorful. But it's not enough to save this movie from, like, the people that picked this movie here, as well as back when we were doing Reddit Horror Club, should feel ashamed of themselves. Like, this is not a good movie. This is not a movie that you want to subject someone else to. 30 fucking years later, this movie has not aged well. It's not cheeky. It's not funny. It is just bad and evil.
So how about that shoplifting scene?
Okay, that shoplifting scene is great because he goes, I'd like to know what you're doing with all that chicken in your pants, which is the only quotable line from this movie.
Excuse me, I paid for it. This is just a receipt for dog food.
So I also want to point out that there is at least one person in this movie who has appeared in a previous horror movie night film, and that is the mayor from Toxic Avenger playing the fat owner of the dump. That
You're missing somebody else too, buddy.
I mean, I recognize that dude.
You're missing the most important person.
Let's wait. Let's see if he picks up on it.
No,
Our boy from fucking Frankenhooker, yo.
He's the bellboy, man.
I missed that one. Damn it.
Man, there's this part when our quote unquote protagonist hobo finds her puking in the alley, and he's like, yes, I am going to date rape this person. I mean, it's not even date rape. She doesn't really know him, but she like goes with him because she's like blackout drunk. And this is when like that pit of dread. You know, you guys ever watch fucking Serbian film?
Yes.
Once and never again, yeah.
All right, you know that feeling that you get when you just basically start that movie because you know awful sexual shit is going to happen. That's that point in this movie. I'm just like the pit of my stomach. It's like I took a sip of Tenafly Viper. My stomach leaks out my asshole, and it's just dread and horror with the fact that this happy-go-lucky hobo that we've been kind of rooting for the last hour or 45 minutes or whatever is going to just rape this blacked-out woman. And she goes, let's go home. I feel so horny. I want you all the way in me. And he goes, is that what you want? And she goes, yeah, all the way in. Adam giving us that extra information on the fact that she had previously been sexually assaulted and had to go through with this makes you really feel bad it makes you pissed off about Hollywood. Like, Hollywood is an awful nightmare place.
Well,
I feel like Hollywood had nothing to do with this
far
movie.
away from Hollywood. There's no Hollywood here. This is just, I guess this is based on a short film, which, I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's just gross. Everything about it's disgusting. And it opens up in such a way that I think, I guess because it was so offensive, this turned into a sort of a midnight movie that a lot of young people would go to. And I think the first time I ever watched it, I was probably 16 or 17. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, it's nasty, it's gross, it's filthy. Those are the kind of movies that I liked at that time. I went out of my way to find schlock cinema. This 10 years after that, I really wish that I did not have to sit down and watch an hour and 40 minutes of this fucking movie because it's gross. There's so much disgusting sexual stuff going on. You just watch these people who are in this awful, horrible situation only to watch them get even further below, like hit lower bottoms as the movie goes along, and you're just... you talked about wanting to take a shower, Scott, and like you're still feeling dirty afterwards.
Yeah, days of showers, and I
feel like I got 2 inches of soot on me from this fucking movie. Here, the whole time that I was watching this movie, all I could think was, you're fucking homeless. Pack up your shit from the car lot and go somewhere else. You're homeless. It literally doesn't matter where you go. Like, just anywhere.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I really didn't. I was so assaulted in every sense of the word by this film. I didn't really think that through logically. Maybe that's what their problem was too, is they were just like, man, shit could get so much worse if I didn't have this psychotic Vietnam vet who's going to stab me with a human bone knife. I'll stay at the dump.
Well, put your fucking bindle on the end of a stick and walk across town because you don't need to be there.
Hey, so can we talk about the fact that we missed one of the rape scenes?
I didn't miss it at all.
No, I mean, we haven't discussed it. I don't mean that we are missing out on it. So the fat fuck who runs the junkyard, he rapes the dead chick, so we have necrophiliac rape too. So the part when the cop comes in and makes this like shitty comment about like, oh, it was raped by 7 dudes, and the fat dude is like, can you tell whose semen is whose? And he was like, no, but I can tell you that the third guy from last had syphilis, and the guy like starts rubbing his dick. That wasn't funny, right? Like it was supposed to be funny, but it didn't hit for me.
I don't know that it's supposed to be. At that point, you're an hour and 10 minutes into the movie, and you've watched all this graphic shit going on. And right before that scene was this dumbass fucking scene where he like confronts a dude with a gun, and he goes, "Would you rather die in combat or rotten to death in a prison?" And the Italian the like hitman's like, fuck it, and they get in this dumbass fucking fight. Like.
It was trying to do the same thing as They Live, but just did so much shittier with the random street fight.
And then you still have 40 minutes of the fucking movie left, and you're gobsmacked as to what's going to happen. But the cop then goes back in, and it's just this like series of confrontations and fights and stuff that culminates in the Vietnam guy, who really is just a broken fucking psychopath man who is homeless, living in a junkyard, who you should feel bad about. You're supposed to cheer when he gets exploded by a fucking pressurized canister.
Okay, let's just talk about that scene because, well, first of all, right before that, I have 2 last notes. My second to last note is this movie is human misery on film. It's awful. It's not a good movie. Even the melt scenes are just not worth your time. So anybody listening that hasn't watched it, take our word for it. It's not worth your time. But that death by gas tank counts as decapitation, doesn't it?
I think so. It's also the same way that they killed a shark in Jaws. So
who did it better?
So here's another piece of depressing trivia from this movie. Do you recall a guy who basically in this movie just explodes everywhere? Like he just grows fat and explodes?
Yeah.
If you take the time to check his IMDb, that photo of him exploding is his current IMDb photograph.
Well, to be honest, even if I had like a storied, illustrious career after this movie, that would still be my IMDb profile picture. Now, here's my favorite. Here's my favorite piece of IMDb trivia. So the dude that plays Bronson, he was cast the day before they started shooting, like less than 12 hours before they started shooting, and he's like, I didn't even know what the hell we were doing. I would just do it scene by scene. Like I would read the script, get in front of the camera, and do the scene. I don't have any idea who Bronson was, and I have no idea what was going on in the movie. And he's like. And like, you know, he said that he didn't actually read the script, like get a full script and see it until 3 months after principal photography. And he's like, and I still, after reading the script, had no fucking idea who Bronson was or why he was doing anything.
That explains so much about this stupid movie.
Well, we got past the awkward first fun fact, and I think we salvaged the episode. So,
there are no laughs to be had this week on Horror Movie Night.
I don't know
Sorry,
how to
everybody.
make jokes about this because it's such fucked up material. It's like, I want to go watch I Spit on Your Grave to wash the taste of this movie out of my fucking mouth. Like, this is filthy. It's filthy. And this hardly fits into the fucking, like, our podcast. I seriously regret going to bat for this movie. And Matt, it's an email pic, so can you tell me the name of the person that fucking wanted us to watch?
Hey, so... Wait. One thing I have to say about this is that the most damning part about this week really is that I watched this movie. Well, this episode is that I watched this movie, and then I watched a movie that came up in our in the like I watched this on YouTube because it's in full on YouTube. I mean, you can see tits, you can see rape, you can see people exploding, you can see a dick getting tossed around. I mean, it's an amazing amount of stuff that you can find on YouTube if you're looking for it. So have fun with that, kiddies. But the top suggested film was also a body melt film, and I watched it, and I didn't take notes, and then I checked the Trello, and I realized that I have to watch it next month, and I'm so upset.
I know what you watched.
Here's one thing I have to say though. That whole commentary aside, Matt, remember the first time that we podcasted with Adam back in Reddit Horror Club? Taxidermia. You remember why he picked that movie? He picked that movie, if I remember correctly, and I'm probably going to have to paraphrase, but it's going to be damn close. I picked this movie because it's got fucked up shit in it. That movie followed no plot line. We saw flame penis, crazy Soviet Russia, everything. I think there was a pig carcass that got fucked.
All I remember about that episode is I said, Adam, why do you like this movie? And he said, I never said I like this movie.
yeah, but let's just contrast that 5 fucking years of podcasting together down the hatch, and then we watched Street Trash, and he's like, yeah, I really regret going to bat for this movie. This movie's awful.
So Marquand and Jessica were the two culprits. Jessica, I actually think, is very active in our Facebook page. They both said that this is one of their favorite movies, and they wanted to hear how we would discuss it. So,
wow, I'm sorry for shitting all over your favorite movie, but I think you really need to reassess your life if you can get past all the graphic rape in this movie.
They're doing the same thing that I did, and they watched this in their teen years and are remembering it fondly, but have not recently rewatched it and had to deal with the bubbling vomit that comes up your esophagus while you're sitting watching this fucking movie alone in a basement on a Thursday night. Why am I fucking doing this? I don't want to be doing this.
You do it because you love the podcast. So I think you're right that it has to be nostalgia, because I can't see people watching this movie as an adult and being like, yeah, this is quality cinema. I mean, maybe if you just strictly watch it for the seat or the special effects, and so you basically just watch 20 minutes out of the hour and 40 minutes of it. Like I can understand that's like a valid reason for suggesting this movie. But if you pick this movie just because you wanted to fuck with us, you're on our
it's got to be nostalgia, like rebellious age where you were like, yeah, fuck yeah. But I mean, I don't know.
Like horror movies? Like wrestling? Check out the Gore Horseman podcast. Each week, we pick a month and year and review the world of horror and wrestling at that time. From slashers to suplexes, vampires to Vicky Guerrero, the Gore Horseman podcast covers it all. Check us out on Twitter at Gore Horseman Pod, or find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud.
So what did you guys watch this week?
Hey, let me start this one off with a real lighthearted discussion. No joke. Megan found Honey, I Shrunk the Kids on Netflix or Hulu. I can't remember which. And we watched that, and it is delightful. And it just makes me feel so much better to talk about that movie. Can we just commiserate about how that movie fucking rules? Everything about that movie rules. And it still holds up. Like, watching that movie, I haven't seen that movie in like 20 or 25 years. Because, I mean, I haven't watched it since I was a kid.
I want to ask you an important question.
Before you say that, it feels the same way watching it now as when I was a kid. Like the same feeling. Like it's this weird tactile sensation when you see the giant Cheerio and when you see, oh my God, the gigantic oatmeal cookie. Oh, Jesus. Okay, now I ask your question.
Did you happen to notice who the writers of the movie were?
I did not.
Stuart Gordon and Brian Yuzna.
That's right. Actually, I did. Yes. I actually, because I was like, I saw Stuart Gordon in the opening, the credit scroll, and I was like, holy fuck, Megan. And I like got his IMDb up, and I was like, look, this is what Stuart Gordon has done. And she was like, okay. Why should I like be surprised? I'm like, because he does some fucked up shit that we've talked about on the podcast.
I'll go next. I got to see something that I had always wanted to see. I finally got to see Monster Squad in a movie theater, and it was really fucking cool. And if you ever get a chance to see it in a theater, because this is the 30-year anniversary of the movie, so they've been definitely hitting random theaters and doing like retro screenings. It's absolutely worth checking out. It is even cooler to see on like a big screen with a great sound system. We talked about that in depth, like, I don't know, 10 episodes ago, so I don't really feel like I need to go any further than that.
Well, I just want to say, why are we freaking about Stuart Gordon? Our boy Brian Yuzna was also on there. Return of the Living Dead 3, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker, Bride of Reanimator. Fuck me, this guy's the best. God, I love Brian. Man, I was all excited about Monster Squad. If I could fucking meet Brian Yuzna, oh my god, that'd be fucking dope. Okay, I watched Arrival, which I had watched before on a shitty ripped copy that had no subtitles, and so I had no idea what was going on at the end of the movie.
Wait, Arrival or The Arrival?
No, Arrival, like the one with the weird black cock that appears in the sky, and she's got to write pictures and stuff.
A weird black cock that arrives in the sky. Wow, I don't think anyone in the world thinks about it like that.
Oh wait, this is I'm confusing it with the fan fiction that I wrote. Yeah, it's part Zardos, part blaxploitation. So I watched that and it was okay. I don't quite understand the ending. I mean, I do, but I wish that it was something else. Like, did you guys watch that movie?
Nope.
No,
neither of you watched that. Are you ever going to watch it? Can I maybe spoil it?
I wouldn't. It's fairly new, right?
It's like maybe 2 years old.
it came out last year.
Okay.
Here, how about this? Anybody listening, if you haven't watched it and don't want it to get spoiled, if Matt's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, just you should probably stop listening at this exact point, and I feel like we've given you plenty of time to stop listening. And, I mean, you're not really missing anything. He's going to tell us about this thing, and then we're going to do the same fucking spiel at the end of the episode that we always do. So, like, yeah, feel free to just kind of, like, stop and delete at this point. All right, Adam, go ahead.
HMNpodcast.com. Okay, so the point of the movie is these aliens come down, and they get a linguist in to try and communicate with them because there's a big language barrier and nobody quite understands what the aliens want. Are they there for malicious reasons or are they there for peaceful reasons? Okay. So throughout the movie, like the American branch of the because 12 aliens came down all over the world, 12 ships, and countries like China and Russia and stuff are not being able to understand them and are getting increasingly nervous and feel like they pose a threat. But the linguist in America is like having a lot of breakthroughs, and she realizes that they've come to give their language. That is like the whole point of coming down, because if you can decipher their written language and you can it rewires your brain in such a way that if you can understand their language, then you can also see into the future. Okay?
What?
Okay.
Well, there's a conversation that's like, hey, I heard, like, at one point in the movie, the guy's like, if you get thrust into a foreign country in a foreign language, apparently your brain rewrites itself to be able to then understand that language. And so the American linguist, who's played by whatever the chick from Batman v Superman, I forget what her name is, Amy Adams, I think. Yeah. She
Yes.
starts to understand the language so well that she can see into the future. And the aliens are like, listen, we're going to give this to you now because in 3,000 years from now, we're going to need help from humans. And so at the end, like, she's able to see into the future and knows everything that's going to happen in her life. And it's like the Chinese are about to launch like a nuclear offense against these aliens, and she starts looking into the future at a party that's like 9 months down the line where she meets a Chinese general, and the Chinese general goes, "I'll never forget that day that you called me on my private phone number." And she goes, "I never had your private phone number." And he holds up a phone and goes, "This is the private phone number." And he goes, "I'll never forget what you said to me when you called me." And she says, well, what did I say to you? And he says, you told me my wife's dying words. And then he says, the wife's dying words in Chinese. So cut back to the present. She now knows his phone number and knows what his dying wife's words were. So she gets a phone, calls him, tells him that. He believes her and calls off the offense. And it was like, okay, what?
Time is not a dimension that you can just fucking, like, pick and choose how it works. That's so stupid.
So it basically was like a sincere version of those sequences in the Bill and Ted movies where they're just like, and then we're going to leave the key here. And then they just like lift up the rock and the key's already there. And they're like, whoa!
Yes, absolutely. And at the end of the movie, Amy Adams gets the princess and Wild Stallions takes off, man. Fucking crazy. But yeah, so, I mean, the way that they do it is, I'm just explaining it on like a technical level. It is very heartfelt and very like touching the way that they do it. But to think about it logically, it's like, well, I don't know that makes any sense. Like, yeah, you did give us that preemptive thing of like, well, it rewires your brain, so language is able to like transcend barriers, but transcend barriers of time and space. Like, what the fuck is that? Anyways, Arrival was okay. I would recommend it. That's it for me, guys.
All right, that was Street Trash from 1987, as picked by a bunch of listeners, 2 of them to be exact. We will be back doing some of the listener-submitted requests in January. Will be our next listener request month. In the meantime, you can check out all the different movies that we want to discuss between October, November, and December before you guys punish us in January. And don't forget that you can check us out at hmnpodcast.com, where you can find all the different links to the places that we hang out, including our Patreon, our Facebook page, Geekscape.net, and a ton of other cool places. We've got a lot of cool stuff on the horizon, so please do not miss out on all that cool stuff. Finally, I want to make sure that I'm remembering to announce this over the next couple weeks, so give me 1 second to pull it up. But I will be at the Midtown Cinema of Harrisburg on October 13th doing a live commentary track for some movie called Bloody Murder, which looks terrible. But afterwards, they're going to be doing a special screening of Friday the 13th, because it'll be Friday the 13th when I'm doing it. So come check it out. It seems like it's going to be a pretty cool spot. And in the Facebook page, I'll be posting a link probably by the time this episode's already dropped. But thank you guys for all your support. I can't wait to see you at some of the other conventions that we will be doing. As this episode is out, if you are in the Baltimore or Maryland area, I am currently at Monster Mania, so you should come and say hello. And I think that's all of the announcements for Horror Movie Night so far. So we will be back next week with the start of our October Halloween sort of spectacular. I don't know. I don't think Scott or I's movie are specifically Halloween based, but whatever. It's Halloween because it's October, and October is the entire month of Halloween.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.